what's the movie about? Oh, about an hour and a half.
Oh, wow, for sure.
Yeah, see what I did there?
Good one. That was a good one.
It's huge. It's going to be a huge blockbuster, I hope. Yeah, well, it's big. We have lots of celebrity cameos. Well, you know, Jason Segel is in it, and he wrote the movie and is starring in it. And Amy Adams.
Yes, I believe that she is my stunt double on this. That's right, isn't it? Yeah? 3-time Oscar-nominated Amy Adams. She's doubling for me, right? Yeah.
The plot. That's a funny word, isn't it? Plot. Yeah. Anyhow,
the short version of what this movie is about is the Muppets get back together to save their theatre from the threat of an evil oil baron. That's pretty much what the movie is about. It's very old school, very old-fashioned, very simple storyline. But for comedy, that always works best because you have a lot of scenes in it, you have a lot of ideas in it, you have a lot of songs in it. So the story in itself needs to be very simple.
We're just so thrilled that a whole generation of now adults who grew up with us as the Muppet Show Muppets can now meet us again with their own kids. I think it's wonderful.
Is this movie in 3D? Nope. The Muppets are as one-dimensional as they've always been.
Hey, watch it!
The Muppets originally wasn't going to be this huge musical that it turned out to be. And so initially we thought it was going to be kind of just a comedy Muppet movie. And then as time went on, it became more and more of a big musical.
Comedy's a pretty straightforward thing sonically, but, you know, we are creating sounds here from scratch. I mean, you know, when Kermit doesn't have any legs, so when Kermit's walking down a hallway, you don't hear anything. And so obviously Foley played a huge role in it.
It's always fun to work with directors that are really open to collaboration. They really do want to hear what you have to say, if there's any new ideas that you have, and leave it up to the crew to come up with things. You know, he's very much open to it.
He wanted to try to stay true to past Muppet movies and the TV show. And the thing is the past Muppet TV shows and movies, there wasn't a lot of sound. It was pretty sparse.
For me, it's all about telling people why they were great and not just saying they were great. I think that's the thing. You have to be careful about walling in a nostalgia festival, because obviously nostalgia is an important part of it for me, because I want people who remember it from the past to like the movie, because it's nice that you can go, oh, I remember that as a kid. But at the same time, there's a huge number of people out there who don't know who Muppets are at all, have no idea who Muppets are, including my kids. And so I wanted just to show them why they were great and why I remember them being great.
remember, left foot, right foot. Hello. Sorry. That looked expensive.
You look familiar.
So do you.
Wow. Please, have a seat.
Yes, we're going to have a seat now.
No, don't sit down.
Oh, sorry.
Uh-oh. Message to head. Left leg in trouble. Going down. Left leg going down.
I can't believe I fell for Muppet Man.
I believe our production recordings that we got were broken out into, I think it was 24 discrete channels.
And then another 170 tracks of band, needle drops, the record mixes, and then also the score. The score was another, entity unto itself. So there was probably about 230 tracks of music going in every reel.
We did quite a lot of ADR, and Erin Oakley, who was our ADR supervisor and editor, she just did an amazing job, because I think anyone of a lesser skill set, let's put it this way, would have been overwhelmed. There was a lot of ADR.
Dealing with the performers, the puppeteers on the ADR stage, they themselves, it's like you get introduced to them when they come in, and you meet the person, then you say, okay, we're going to do voices for Miss Piggy, and these are the ADR lines we need to do. All of a sudden, the performer steps up to the mic. Okay, let's see what we're going to do. It's like everything is done, like now it's Miss Piggy. It's not that person you were just talking to.
One interesting thing for us we found on this was that when they're on the set, they wear these microphones that are here. They have these headband things on and have the heads on. And we were testing out the ADR, and we ended up using the same setup in the ADR session, whereby they wear their headbands, and that kind of absolutely perfectly matched the sound after a while. So it took a while, but you work these things out. They're little things you work out. But it's very interesting.
I've got everything that I need.
Muppets music has an incredible tradition of fantastic songwriting, basically because of Paul Williams, who's a total genius. And I'm a huge fan of his stuff, not just on The Muppet Show, but as a movie called Bugsy Malone, which is very influential to me and all my kids of my generation in England, which has got one of the best soundtracks you'll ever hear. And it's that very sort of strong American singer-songwriter tradition of the early 70s. So when I talk to Brett about this, I know Brett very well from Concords, obviously, and he and I have a similar taste in music, and a lot of Concords songs have that kind of feel to it. But I said to him, look, imagine it's kind of a Paul Williams, Harry Nilsson kind of mix, but with a contemporary feel to it. Like it kind of tips its hat to that era of singer-songwriters, but at the same time needs to have a contemporary production and edge to it, which will make it feel not like it's a vintage show. It makes it feel like it has a respect for that time, but isn't of that time.
This is actually our first 7-1 project, and it turned out to be pretty cool. We actually enjoyed the format. You know, we were able to tip things into the theater a little bit more than we normally would have. It helped out a lot because in the Muppets, you know, we took the liberty of panning their voices around because they lent itself well to that, you know, and because of that, we also moved the music around and some of the sound effects around and utilized those side speakers more than we thought we were going to.
I distinctly remember having the conversation when we were on the dub stage going, should we mix in 7.1 or should we mix in 5.1? But when we started mixing the opening Disney title, I literally sat up and went, oh my God, that it really does make a difference.
Comedy's very fronty, I think, and that feels to me because it's about delivery and the timing of it and the clarity of it. It can add a lot. There are some nice moments in the movie where things move around. Piggy comes from behind the theatre, that sort of thing I love. But for me, generally, I think sound is a bit like framing. I tend to try not to use the camera to tell the jokes. I try to let the camera just observe. And sound, I think, has a similar role for me in comedy in the sense that it kind of creates the troughs of emotion. So if you can create an emotional moment and then kill it with a jet gag or like kind of create this sense of emotion where people care about the characters using sound, that's how you're going to make it funnier. Because then when they do stuff funny, you're going to laugh more with them because you like them.
This particular film was a real collaborative effort. It wasn't like guys mixing music, guys mixing sound effects, guys mixing dialogue, guys editing sound effects, guys editing music. We were all working together with one big team to get it done.
It does take a village. This one took 2 villages just because there was that amount of tracks and material.
It just really all came together in a really nice, enjoyable, positive experience way. Everyone was, you know, able to throw out ideas. There was no such thing as a bad idea. I think the environment that James created was one in which everyone could have a say, and that's a great environment to work in, honestly, and I think you end up with the best possible work.
The puppeteers themselves are so good at doing the characters that even when, for example, my daughter come and visit us on set and Steve would talk to her as Kermit, and Kermit would be on Steve's arm and talking to my daughter as Kermit, and my daughter would never ever look at Steve. She'd never think Steve existed, even though Steve was talking like 2 foot away. She'd always look at Kermit and just would totally believe that Kermit is this guy who's walking around talking next to Steve as a real frog. And she's 4, and she totally buys it. And for me, that's why they've been successful for these 50 years, is because the characters are so strong and charming, and kids, kids love them for that reason, and we all remember them very fondly for that same reason, I think.